Hello everyone, my name is Dan Holland from Solution Toolbox. This is video 4 of our series from creating a website from start to finish. So far in this series we have created our layout, we have mapped our zones, we have started our CSS file, and in this video we're going to add the CSS to our layout and finish the layout process. So over here we can see the CSS classes that we created, and unfortunately when you're dealing with CSS sometimes you're going to have to get your hands dirty. There's not really a good way to attach this CSS to our layout without going back to the HTML side. So I apologize, but we're going to go ahead and click on the HTML side here and we can see a bunch of gibberish. These are all of our placeholders, but I'm going to go ahead and separate them out so it's a little bit easier to read here. Let's see. And okay, I think that's everything. Let's see, there's our first zone, our menu. There is our zone. Okay, great. So the very first thing that I want to do is I want to put a div around this whole thing that says a width 100%. Why? I don't really know why. It's recommended. It keeps everything happy as far as the CSS goes. It doesn't affect anything visually, but I would just put it there. I always do. I recommend that you do as well. All we need to do is say div style equals 100%. And we'll close the div down here at the bottom. Alright, so if we look at our layout, the very first thing that I want to do is the top. So I want to wrap our outer header here with our main div and then put our logo area and our menu area up. So I'm going to come over here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'll type our div here. And then I always close the div before I do anything else, that way I don't forget about it. But I'm going to wrap this around the logo and the menu. Alright, so then we're going to come up here and we're going to set the class of this to our outer header, which you can see right here. We'll type outer header there. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to wrap both of these also in the main div so they're centered on the screen. So I'm going to do this again. Come down here, close it out. We'll call this the main div. Okay, so now those are both wrapped. So now we need to individually wrap these logo zones and the menu zones. So I'm going to come down here, and once again put the div. And this time we will call this was our logo placeholder. Now the CSS is case sensitive, so be careful here. And then we're going to wrap another div around here. And this one was called menu placeholder. Oops. Okay. So there's the whole top area, that's done. So the next thing we need to do is come down here and we're going to do our rotator. So if we look here, the rotator is pretty easy. We need one that has all the background that stretches across the entire screen, and then we just need to center the rotator on the screen itself. So this one is only going to take 2 divs. Put one above the placeholder and then one below. And the class here, this was going to be called outer rotator. And then once again we need our main div. We'll call this one main div. Alright, so that handles the rotator. Now if we look at these next two, the jQuery scroll area and the main content, they're both on the same background image that scrolls all the way across. So we can group these two together, and then each one individually needs to be wrapped in the main div. So let's go ahead and do that. To wrap both of these, this one we're going to assign to the, I believe we called it, let's see, where's outer content? Then we'll wrap this one individually, and he was called main div. And if we come down here, wrap this one main div. Okay, so that handles the content and scrolling area. So then we just have to finish up the bottom here, and we need this one to go all the way across, which was our outer footer, just like that. And then we want to center the content, so one final one. Which is main div. Okay, so that's all the CSS. A little bit of custom coding here, but when you're doing CSS, that's to be expected. Now, if you were using HTML tables, obviously you wouldn't need to be doing all this coding in the background, but then you have the overhead of the tables and getting them to work correctly with the different browsers. So now that we got all this, I'm going to flip back over to the design mode, and I'm going to go ahead and save my page. And we are now ready to upload all of our files and create our first home page.